Thumbs up. Good evening, board members and residents. I'd like to call to order our regular board meeting for Monday, May 11th, 2026, and I would ask that everyone present please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Batkins?
Here.
Mr. Brado?
Here.
Mr. Olgiati?
Here.
Ms. Rabeau?
Here.
Mr. Tominello?
Here.
Mr. Witt here, Mr. Verkust.
Here. All right. Next is the approval of the consent agenda, which includes approval of the regular board meeting minutes of April 27th, 2026, and approval of the bills in the amount of $915,429.05. We're looking for, unless there's any concerns, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Is there support? Support. All right, got a motion by Mr. Batkins with support by Mr. Olgiati. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next is approval of the regular agenda. I'm not aware of any revisions. If there are none, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the regular agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right. We've got a motion by Mr. Tominello with support by Ms. Rabeau to approve the agenda as presented. Discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next is announcements. I see we have our county commissioner present, so I'll invite you up once I do my announcements. The DIA is here in Harrison Township. There are 7 weatherproof replicas of DIA paintings installed all across the township for this summer. Please visit the township website for a map of all of the locations and of these beautiful works of art. The Tucker Senior Center has lots of exciting trips coming up, baseball games in Greenfield Village, to name a few. Contact the Senior Center today by calling 586-466-1497 to learn more or to register for these trips. Our Harrison Township Beautification Commission is hosting the Container Gardening Make and Take event on Saturday, May 16th from 10 a.m. to noon. Excuse me. This is an adults-only event, and it will be held at the Tucker Senior Center, 26980 Ballard. You must register for this event, and it is limited to 50 participants. More information is on our website. Their next event will be their annual Plant, Pot, and Garden Art Exchange on Saturday, May 30th. From noon to 2 p.m. That event also will be held in the parking lot of the Tucker Senior Center. The library will have information on their seed bank, and there will be a kids plant a pot make and take station. For more information or to register, you can again visit the website or call Sue Keene, Chair of the Beautification Commission, 586-242-3868. And for more information on these as well as all other township events, you can call the Township Supervisor's Office, 586-466-1445, or visit our website at harrisontownshipmi.gov. Are there any other board announcements? Hearing none, we would invite Ms. Barb Zinner up to the podium to give us an update on county matters.
Hello, everyone. I have a whole list here, but it isn't really that exciting. Tomorrow we start our meetings for the week. It's just always off for Harrison meetings. We had a Tri-County Summit, Macomb, Oakland, and Wayne. At that, data centers was a long and interesting conversation. There was three people were dialoguing, and it was overseen by someone for 3 different areas. I don't know what's that's going, if that happens and/or when, or it doesn't happen at all, that would be local. Those are with local jurisdictions. That isn't county, it isn't state, at least where it has been. There was somebody here from Virginia who was explaining all of that. Actually, all the three people were knowledgeable about it. There seems to be pros and cons to that. I was talking to two 30-year-olds the other day, and they said, remember that movie with Julia Roberts' mom, the cancer movie? These young people really are not into that at all. I found that interesting. But they say that the data centers are so full of energy that it's very useful, but there's a lot of information to absorb with all of that. There's just, I don't think you can jump into anything on that one because there's a lot of back and forth on that. Speaking of young people, I had just written down cannabis on my note here. Somebody said to me recently, younger than 30, they said, there's these liquor licenses. Does cannabis, they have licenses? And I said, I honestly can't tell you. I don't know for sure. And they said, well, it seems like there's an awful lot of cannabis stores and whatever around. Everywhere you look, you see that. And I don't think you see that many liquor stores or facilities. And I said, well, you've got a very good point there. And a lot of churches aren't too happy about that, I have to say. But anyway, it was just an interesting thing from such a young person. You may have heard this, you probably all know about it. Candace in Public Works had a couple long, interesting letters for us at the board. When we had those two large rainstorms maybe a month ago, she's done all this work. Well, she and Public Works have done all this work, and she's had a lot of public pushing on that because we want things to be clean and good. And the first storm drain there was a lot of water with that first rain. It was big. That was when we all lost power, I think. And Uggle contacted her twice and said, how come you're not sending out reports on how much you're putting out into the lake? And she said, well, because we haven't put anything out. Because she had storage, because we have storage now. And a few days later, we had more rain. And she had to put out a little, but everybody else had to put out the first time because there's no backup for them. And they're not putting out even on the ground. They're not having reservoirs and different things that we've had in Macomb County, and there've been a lot of effort put forth. So thank you for knocking on our door for money all the time, and the state and the federal government. And that's all good for our people. That's what it's all about. Seems to me there were a couple. The CIAC and the jail is coming along really well. I go to a meeting at Martha T. Berry every month, and I just drive over around that circle, and I drive around it, and it's really awesome from each side that you drive around. Honestly, it's coming along really well. The outside's, I think, pretty close to being put together. The project won't be done until the spring of '27. And there are some great pictures, and I will try to get them to you, Ken, so you can share them with the rest of the group. Because it'll be online now for this week. So I think that's all really that I have for you for today.
Thank you. All right.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda is item D1 regarding a special assessment district. Mr. Witt?
Yes, Board. Tonight, talking about the Archer Lakeshore Sediment Removal Special Assessment District again. So the homeowners that have been working on that project have been working with aquatic hydraulic dredging as far as getting pricing and who they'd like to work with to complete the proposed project. So we asked the contractor to prepare an updated quote, which we included in the board packet. And what I'm looking for tonight is for board approval to work with our township attorney to have a contract that could be agreeable to both parties, and then, share that with the board prior to us signing off on the contract. Some contractors don't have a lot of exposure to municipalities and, the contracts and the requirements of the things that we're going to be looking for. So that's why we're going to ask Mr. Huth to sort of help us craft that, and then we'd share that prior to any execution. So, the proposal came back in line with what we had expected as far as the cost. There's obviously, timing and all that kind of stuff that'll have to be ironed out as we go through the project. But that's sort of where it's at tonight.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, got a motion by Mr. Tominello, for support.
Support.
Okay. So just looking at the agreement, the numbers we used have a contingency built in. So
Correct.
from a SAD perspective, the numbers that we talked about have been higher than this.
Yes.
But being that it is I guess, a newer agreement, there's an initial amount due upon signing of the contract. And
Yeah, and again, that's something I think we can work with Rob on, and, if anyone had any suggestions, that's great, but I think, working with Rob to maybe get somebody more familiar with how we process payments, where it's specific milestones and that kind
Okay.
of stuff. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I guess, and I just seeing this, had a little bit of concern for that.
Yep.
Right? So, but that's something that we will discuss with legal counsel before we execute the contract.
Correct.
I got you. Okay. All right, and I wrote down, Mr. Tamanello will support.
Corrado.
Okay, good. All right, discussion, board members?
The permits, they've taken care of them? Is that,
They're already, we had pulled permits, the previous iteration of this project that never went anywhere. So those are, already pulled at this point. So we worked with Eagle to get those updated based on the scope change.
okay,
And so that was out for public comment, and I want to say it's, maybe it has a week left on public comment before they can finalize issuance of the permit.
okay, just on page 56, they say that we're responsible for all permit.
Yeah, and we're already there.
Also, yeah, am I supposed to be quiet? On page 59, I think Mr. Burkess spoke to it. I think it should be something related to mobilization, not signing of the contract. And there should be a retainer because the last remaining 25% says that once they remove the items from the park, they want the other 25%. Now, they're responsible for that park to be put back in condition it was. So I think a 10% contingency would be acceptable when you're working through that. That would be what I would like to see.
Which was reflective of the contract we had for Waterfront Park, so that makes sense.
Yep. I mean, anybody alive that would like these payment terms. Construction.
Just because you asked doesn't mean you get, right, Brian?
Right, and that's my point. And were there any terms and conditions tied to this contractor?
When in talking with him, this is sort of everything he has. They're a lot more casual, and that's
So
sort of
what
been my
we see
experience
is
with-
what we get.
That's been my experience with marine contractors too, is they say, I'm gonna put steel here and I hope you enjoy it. And, so they're a little more casual, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, that's why I wanted to work with Mr. Huth to make sure we had something that we could be comfortable with.
I'd like to see some language on indemnification.
Yeah, we've already had some preliminary conversations that way.
All right, I'm late to the dance.
No. I just anticipated your question, and so Rob and I had sort of
Okay.
started that conversation.
I just wanted to kind of bring it to some, I know that I had been talking to a few of the other trustees and a couple of the other people and driving around that particular neighborhood. I just want to make sure that we have looked at all different options for drying. And one thing that I had brought to some people's attention is after driving down that area, I feel like it might be something that we might be able to look at where we could possibly utilize one of those roads, either Powers or Part E, and dry bags on one lane of that to give better access to the park and to limit the type of problems that I think a lot of the residents came to us from a contaminant standpoint, even though the soil samples say that there are not contaminants and those to the level that it's going to be a problem. But I would just like to really still dive into that before we make that decision in terms of utilizing the entire, the portion of the park that's outlined here to dry the spoils.
Yep. So, you had mentioned that, a couple of weeks back, and I did reach out to the contractor. I know that this is a busy time because there's almost maybe a fish spawn season. And so there's work that these contractors can do prior to a certain time, and then they kind of hit a dead zone. And I know that Mr. Huth also, Mr. Witt also had a couple different attempts to reach out because the fellow's busy. But I did propose that idea for like a partial lane, like one lane closure, maybe one of the longer roads could be a one-way only. Before I reached out to the Department of Roads to see if they would be willing to allow that, I wanted to make sure that it was a viable option with the contractor. At this point, I have not heard back from AHD on that proposal. But as we get closer, was I looking at a timeline of spring of 2027?
So we had some conversations about that, and it depends on how he's able to mobilize, whether he can go, because he could start, like you mentioned, there's that, blackout period. If he started right after, he could go right through, but it's whether or not we would be comfortable impacting the entire boating season, whatever access that somebody would have in their canal prior to, Labor Day holiday, or is it something that we can look at? So I think there's some timing issues that we have to work out in addition to the siting issues.
Right.
So.
And so I think these things are probably running parallel. But we are looking at that as an option because anything that we would do on the road would minimize the impact to the park. And so my thought is from the contractor's perspective, if I had, 15, say 10 foot by, 1,000 foot, that would be asphalt that wouldn't require any sort of restoration, it should save me money in the long run.
Right.
So we are looking at that. No matter what we do, no matter how we take this, what's really a massive volume of spoils, and allow them to dewater to make it cost effective, it's an inconvenience. If we close one lane, it could be an inconvenience for someone who's backing out of their driveway. So no matter what we do, there will be some inconvenience. But if we can have less of an impact to the park and utilize one lane, seems like it's worth asking for permission. So we're working on it.
Okay, thank you.
One last question, and I think I know the answer. They're bonding this job, right?
We are, you say, to cover the cost of it?
No. If this contractor gets halfway through and he can't complete the job, he should have a
Oh, a performance bond.
performance bond that we could pull from to get the project completed by another contractor. So I believe that.
Yeah, and I think we can structure that in a couple different ways. You can go the performance bond route, or we can look at payment terms. And I think, sometimes we can address it because I've seen it addressed both ways.
Because I've been involved in
Yeah.
several where the contractors go out of business.
Yep.
And the ones with the bonds are much easier to deal with the sureties than to have to fund $500,000 from our bank account.
True, but the bonds add cost. And so we saw this with our waste hauler contracts where of the various contractors through the years that held our single waste hauler contracts, some agreed to pay a bond, and our payment terms were more immediate. For example, with Tringali, we're net 90. So you're holding 3 months. If they stop picking up trash, you've got 3 months of cash that you've collected, right? So that's a way where you can say, okay, we can utilize payment terms to still have some level of insurance and not add to the overall cost, whether it's in this case, to residents who are getting their trash picked up or the cost for this project. So
But again, I think the point's well taken, that we,
Yeah.
look into that, make sure we're covered on that.
Well, because what the bond does is ensure that it's a good contractor, not somebody that just opened up and their first, second job, their career is $1 million job. So I would suggest maybe looking at that pretty sternly.
Made a note.
I'm done.
Any other discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, we've got a motion by Mr. Tominello with support by Mr. Brado to approve the contract with aquatic hydraulic dredging, subject to the attorney's review. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Board. Okay, next is
Yeah, he said it's coming.
Next is item E1 regarding rezoning. This is a request to rezone 27430 South River Road on April 17th, 2025. Dale came before the Planning Commission and requested to rezone two properties from general commercial to RM1 for the future development of two triplexes. At that time, the Planning Commission recommended denial to the Board of Trustees. Prior to taking this case to the Board of Trustees, the applicant changed their rezoning request from RM1 to ultimately R1B, single-family residential, and explained they were looking to build 2 or 3 homes if rezoned. The Board of Trustees, at their July 23, 2025 meeting, referred the applicant back to the Planning Commission for a recommendation on the revised zoning request. The applicant then attended the August 21st, 2025 Planning Commission meeting, where they recommended approval to the Township Board and stated they felt this particular request meets all 7 zoning standards. So the recommendation from the Planning Commission is to approve the rezoning of this parcel, these 2 parcels, from general commercial to R1B. I think originally, well, I shouldn't say originally, but in recent history, it was a gas station. It's been remediated, been bought and sold a few different times, and what we have before us is a proposal for a single family. There are, within the agreement, I received a question, the applicant filled out, all the documentation saying what they wanted to do, and I think there were some attachments that are, for lack of a better word, kind of just like left open. And I think the idea is that if this parcel of land is rezoned, they're going to probably go back to assessing and ask for some lot splits and combines and that sort of thing to lay this out in a way that makes it most convenient or a best case. If they can't get those splits, they could come to us and ask for that appeal. But right now, I think we're looking at saying, can we rezone this conditionally from general commercial to single-family residential to build homes? Is there a discussion, questions, or is there a motion?
You're looking at 3 potential lots, is that correct?
I think that's what they've shown. I don't want to say whether or not they could come back and say, well, we figured out a way that we could do more or less than that, but our ordinance dictates what you can do.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
And if they wanted to do something different than what our ordinance offers, then any split that was non-conforming would come back to this board.
Or any variance that they would need to build would
Correct.
go to zoning board of
Correct.
appeals.
Right.
And, this is just a true rezoning. You can do it as, by right, as, any other residential property.
So I just want to make a comment that this use fits within that district. I think there was a sailboat restoration proposal made at one point, and I do want to say that it was up to three possible single-family homes in the presentation that we received at planning, so.
But this is not a conditional,
That is correct.
this
It's
is
not
just a straight-up
conditional.
rezoning.
Right.
They're asking
I'm just
for-
talking about minutes and
Yep.
what was recorded.
Correct. So if there were to be a future suggestion for that rezoning to be anything other than 2 to 3 single-family homes, we have other, I don't know what you'd say, procedures, variances, other processes in place. This isn't saying, this is us truly saying, we're taking these two parcels of land, going from general commercial to R1B. R1B is it's not the least dense, but it's the second least dense, single-family use. And when we did see previous proposals for a general commercial use, I think the planning commission, I don't know, maybe I think they denied that, or.
We did deny, yes.
Yeah.
It's just, it didn't fit, it didn't meet any of the criteria that we were looking at for those parcels, so.
So I think, because of those reasons, the planning commission did see this as a reasonable rezoning request.
It was
because
very reasonable, yes,
Yeah, because
yes.
it's more in line with what they felt was appropriate for that.
And that's why
area.
our recommendation was as such.
Yep. So the recommendation is to approve the rezoning of the two parcels from general commercial to R1B.
Starting on page 84, 85, 86, and 87, exhibit A, B, C, and D, with them being blank, there's nothing there that was missed that we have to worry about?
Let me catch up.
Those are different, that's a different agenda item.
What is a different agenda item?
Yeah,
I
that was the email from Terry. That was the next E2, the cover page didn't make it in.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's why.
That's why it was so confusing.
I thought-
was
Oh,
looking
that's,
for that,
that's, I'm
so-
sorry, that's why Terry sent that after the email out this afternoon, I'm
For the
sorry.
PUD, I believe.
Yeah, that's the PUD agreement.
Got
Okay,
it.
okay, that's
Yep.
fine. Thank you.
Yep, so,
Okay.
Just want to make sure we weren't missing something.
no problem.
Well, you look at that line, the corner of South River and Hazel, it doesn't seem like they could fit three houses there. It just doesn't to me. It's like maybe one, but land always looks different when it's empty.
Yeah, and again, that's where I'm saying, like, we're not saying there will be 3 homes.
Right.
2 homes, 4 homes, 10 homes, there's a separate set of rules that dictate what can be done there. And we're merely saying that property goes from GC to RM, or to R1B, single-family residential.
And you're right, Mr. Brado, but there is some ingress and egress challenges there and whatnot, but we do think that this has merit, and it fits within that district.
Any other discussion, or is there a motion?
When that property was, I'll say, I remember that gas station.
Sure.
It'd been there for quite a few years.
Mhm.
Obviously, there was permitting required for soil testing and stuff like that, because now you're probably going to put basements in, right? And that was done pre,
Yep, so,
Okay.
and I feel like that was during your, beginning of your time on the board, was it? Or was it already prior to when you, not on the board, but in the
Yeah.
supervisor's office?
Yep.
Yeah, it has been
okay,
remediated.
They went through a similar process to when we removed the tank from behind the old fire station, where the state comes in and does testing.
Okay.
And they hold the bond until they do all the testing and all
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
everything we know about that property tells us that it could be developed in a single-family use without any environmental concerns.
and I'll make that motion,
All right?
approve the rezone.
I'll support it.
By Mr. Badkins with support by Mr. Brado. We had a fair amount of discussion. Is there further discussion, board members? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor?
I'm sorry, Mr. Supervisor, this requires a
It is a
roll
roll
call
call?
because it's a rezoning.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You're
Well,
good.
Mr. Whit, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Backes?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes,
Ms. Rabeau?
Yes.
Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Burkowski?
Yes. All right, next on our agenda is item E2. So at the May 28th, 2024 regular board meeting, the township approved the Victoria Park PUD. The zoning ordinance, section 17.33C2, requires that the township board approve the final development agreement. Attached in the board packet is the proposed final draft of the PUD agreement for Victoria Park. The board can approve the agreement and direct Supervisor Burkess to execute the same, on behalf of the township. The township attorney has worked with the developer's attorney and appropriate township staff and consultants to refine, develop the PUD agreement, and are satisfied with the terms of the attached agreement. So before us is the final Victoria Park PUD agreement. I know that, I think that one of the issues that held this up was some right-of-way issues. We had some conversation back and forth. The final plan incorporates a multi-use path that runs along the Jefferson, the south side of this parcel along Jefferson. And I believe that's part of, there was some questions about right-of-way there and how should we acquire it and whether or not the township is willing to help participate in that. But I believe everything with this PUD is in order. And this was where there were attachments that are not a part of this, but they're like, for example, the site plan's already been approved. So instead of making this board packet, another 100 pages.
Sure.
The PUD agreement has 3 exhibits attached to it. Or, I'm sorry, is it 4? Yeah, 4 attached. Building elevations, floor plans. I don't think those are the issues that are really before this board. Minutes of the, meetings and so on and so forth. But once this PUD is approved, they would become a part of that permanent record for this planned use development of PUD. So, again, discussion, questions, or if not, a motion to approve the PUD as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Support?
I'll support the motion.
Okay. Discussion? We've been talking about this for a while, so it's really nothing new. It's kind of maybe, cleaning up old.
And they almost have all the underground work done, right? So,
Exactly. So, all right, hearing no discussion and seeing no public comment, this does not require a roll call.
I believe it does.
Okay, good. All right, Mr. Witt?
Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Batkins?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Ms. Rabeau?
Yes.
Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkest?
Yes. Thank you, Board. Next, item F1, regarding our breathing apparatus for the fire department. Recently, the Board of Trustees approved the update of our self-contained breathing apparatus, or SCBA, which will extend the life an additional 10 years. The fire department is requesting that we support the purchase of 2 MSA RIT, or Rapid Intervention Team, rescue bottle bag updates. The update of these 2 older model RIT bags will be the final piece needed to incorporate with our newly updated SCBA's. So we've got a cost of $11,500 to approve these, the purchase of 2 MSA RIT rescue bottle bag updates. Any discussion, or is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the MSA RIT rescue bottle bag purchase as recommended.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right. Got a motion by Mr. Witt with support by Mr. Badkins. Discussion. Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next on our agenda, item G1 from the Treasurer's Office.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Board, I submitted the 2025 annual treasury report as required by law. And just want to go over a few highlights. So in 2025, I invested most of our on-hand money in treasuries. Treasuries were a great investment over the last 2 years. Rates are starting to fluctuate a little bit. We did invest in a long-term CD with a new lending institution, CIBC, so that's a new institution. It's a PA20 financial firm. And because the rates are fluctuating downward, I wanted to lock in some money long-term with a CD. Treasurer managed and invested over $5.5 million in 2025, consisting of both township and library funds. The Township General Fund and Water and Sewer Operating Fund, approximately $13.5 million, are invested on a daily basis through sweep accounts, and I've talked about that before, which gain interest by investing on a daily rotating schedule. So at 4 o'clock every day, those funds are whisked out, put on the market, invested overnight, and then back into our account 7 o'clock the next morning. Total earnings on investment and sweep account interest in 2025 totaled $688,836, which is a little bit down from last year, but again, rates are fluctuating downward. Still a great return. Total taxes levied, this is property taxes, in 2025 were $50,415,731. Total school taxes were $30,406,679. Macomb County taxes paid to Macomb County, $7,562,345. Harrison Township taxes, that's police, fire, and library, were $12,466,707. And as we all know, or for those who don't know, Harrison Township does not assess any type of general operating tax. Our outstanding special assessment district balance, or you may hear of it as SAD funds, we have an outstanding payback at the end of 2025 of $441,712. The original liability, which started in 2016, was $3,265,599.12. Since 2021, we've actually since 2016, but since 2021, when we started bonding through public sales and banks, we were able to stop funds going into the self-funded SADs and use bonds to fund projects. So by 2030, that $441,712 will be paid off and we will have no more liability. Cash on hand at the end of 2025 is $24,767,261. Looking at our retiree healthcare and pension funds, our retiree healthcare fund for 2025, our beginning balance at the beginning of 2025 was $8,006,432. At the end of the year, we were at $9,533,666, and that fund is 31.8% funded. Our fire pension, 2025 beginning year balance was $18,847,163. End of the year balance was $20,814,230. That fund is funded at a 58.4% ratio. Our employee pension fund, the beginning of the year balance, 2025, was $16,844,344, and our ending balance was $18,142,443, and that account is, our pension fund is funded at 74%. So just some highlights. If you have any questions, you can surely forward them to me. If there aren't any questions, I guess I'd be looking for a motion to receive and file.
Discussion, questions, or motion?
Make the motion, receive and file it.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
Got a motion by Mr. Badkins with support by Mr. Brado to receive and file the report. I think it's a great report. I think it's pretty positive, all good news, and thank you for the work that you're doing to use our funds to continue to provide services without levying a general fund millage.
I think that's an understatement. Work that Mr. Tominello's done in the treasurer's office is pretty incredible when you start looking.
Yep.
Since he took over and the amount of money that we've made with our money, just speaks volumes. So, Mr. Tominello, thank you for your hard work.
Not only generating revenue, but also reducing expenditures.
Yep.
We had some fee burdens that we've been able to eliminate, so.
Thank you.
All good news.
Every time I look at that money that's accrued for, just from the sweep fund whatsoever, it just boggles my mind that just you can accumulate
It's
that
hard
much
to
interest.
imagine that you could just, like at the short, in what hours, you can generate revenue.
That's crazy.
Don't question it, just take the interest, so. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, Motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next, item H1 from the clerk's office.
Speaking of millages, our current millage expired at the end of the year. We have historically put our millage renewal question on the August primary ballot. We've also historically asked for a 4-year millage, 2 years into our terms. In order for the millage question to be on this August primary ballot, the language has to be approved by tomorrow. Over the last several years, we've asked the voters to approve a millage rate that's higher than what we actually levy. In 2022, we asked for 9.25, but stated we'd only levy 6.35 for fire and 2.35 for police. And again, as mentioned at the previous agenda item, 0 for the general fund for a total of 8.7 mils. So even though 9.25 is on there, we are locked in at levying no more than 8.7 at any point in time. And the reason for this is because the Headley Amendment rolls back the approved millage rates based on inflation. In other words, if a multi-year millage is approved by the voters for 5 mils and the taxable value of our property is $1 billion, it generates $5 million in the first year, and the taxable value would go up by 3% in the next year. The millage rate would have to be rolled back, so again, it would continue to only generate $5 million. So we asked for that higher amount just so we can continue to absorb some of that rollback. Our cost of our providing police and fire does increase every year as we go through. That contract has, with the sheriff, has a built-in escalator in it that we have to fund for. If we don't ask for a cushion like this, what you have to do is collect additional funds in your first year, so have a artificially higher millage in the first year. And as it gets rolled back, you spend some of that fund balance that you would have had in the first year to fund the back end of your millage request. And this has worked well for us, I would say, in the past. In past years, we always ask voters to increase the millage rate, even though we have been consistently levying the same millage amount. But because, and we can't call it a renewal because that Headley rollback pushes that number down. And I think the feeling is that this can cause confusion because, hey, it's the exact same rate, so it's basically a renewal, but legally we have to put on there that it's an increase because we're restoring that Headley rollback. Looking at the numbers this year, we feel like we have an opportunity to ask voters for a straight renewal and not an increase this year based on the way the Headley has impacted us over the last couple of years. So we've rolled back from 9.25 to 9.0831 mils.
Over the last 4 years.
Yeah, over the last 4 years. So if we renew the millage, we would have a cushion of 0.3831 mils. So based on averages, we sort of did a study to make sure that if we continued to have rollbacks of a similar vein, that we'd still be able to fund the way we desire to, and the residents have told us to. And we sort of did a normal calculation of that. We did a worst-case calculation, so if all of a sudden we're hitting higher level rollbacks that we've never seen before, what would that look like? And so even in that worst-case calculation, we would be, in essence, a little short in year 3. $8,000 is what it worked out to. And then about $200,000 in year 4. But we felt like even in that worst case scenario, we were still within how we could manage our budget to get this through. So we have attached a millage resolution. This is the standard resolution that we've used past years. And so we would be looking for consideration for adopting the resolution and which directs myself to forward this on to the county clerk for placing on the August ballot.
So conservatively poor numbers, the numbers that would be in the worst case for us, should allow us to be almost even in year 3, maybe a little bit under in year 4. And I want to say that 200,000 is across, I don't know what the millions, what was the?
11. It's like 11 million in the first year.
Yeah, so 200,000 on an 11 million assessment, volume of revenue is a small percentage, and that 200,000 be split police, fire. So, feels like based on the last 4 years, we had a pretty favorable rollback, and so where we have historically said to this board maybe, hey, we want to do the 9.25 so we have a cushion to be able to levy 8.7 for 4 years. We don't think we even need to do that. We think the 9.08 is sufficient. gives us still a sufficient cushion to be able to levy 6.35 and 2.35 mils for the next 4 years. So if the board agrees with that, we'd be looking for a motion to adopt the resolution, and which would allow us to bring it forward to the Board of Trustees. And as this board knows, I had sent some information on this and some figures prior to this, so that it wouldn't come to you, with a few days to make a decision.
I'll make that motion.
All right. Is there support?
I'll support the motion.
Okay. We've got a motion with support to adopt the resolution for the millage renewal. Any discussion, board members?
What would be the date of the resolution adoption?
We would adopt it today, and he would turn it in tomorrow.
All right, I was just looking at the date on this.
Oh, the open meetings thing. Yeah, that was, I'm sorry, that was just,
Yeah, I figured it was just,
yeah.
Oh, it's an
Old certification.
yeah, copy and paste, yep. Yep, we're not gonna fly back in time and adopt it in
Nope.
2022. So, all right, any other discussion, board members? Hearing none, we'll open up the floor for public comment.
Jim Zenstock, 31698 San Juan. I got a couple questions and maybe a couple comments, I don't know. This particular, when was the last time we did this? 4 years ago, or did we do it 4 years before that? Or, I mean, because it seems like we're sidestepping the Headley Amendment, and I'm wondering, do other communities do this kind of thing? You don't know.
Again, it's not a discussion, it's public comment, I'll write it down and do my best.
Oh, okay, all right, that's fine. So I do appreciate the fact that the rate has come down from the 9 point, whatever it was, to 9.08. I think that's admirable. But I guess the Headley Amendment was designed to protect the taxpayer. When the inflation goes up on the property values in the township, the intent was, at the time the Headley Amendment was put in place, was to stop the governments from getting that extra 5, 10, 3%, whatever it is. It was to keep them operating at the same rate that they were originally operating at. And the intent was that they should be looking for better ways to implement or do the things that they're doing for the citizens. With using this strategy, it doesn't seem like we're doing that, because while you're keeping the millage rate the same, you're going to get a lot more money. You're going to get a lot more money every year that they raise the assessments in the Macomb County. So I guess that's one of why I'm asking the question. Is everybody doing this? And then maybe there needs to be some adjustment to the Headley Amendment. Lastly, I do have I saw this thing in the Journal, and I'm wondering, it says, notice of intent to issue municipal securities to the electors of the Harrison Township. And I guess I need to understand that a little bit, because one of the statements that's in this notice is, if the township doesn't have the sufficient money to pay it, they can, I want to make sure, they will be obligated to levy such ad valorem taxes upon all taxable property in the township as shall be necessary to make the payments of principal and interest on the municipal securities. So in other words, we as citizens would get no chance to vote on any additional millage if you guys decided to do that. So I guess, what are these municipal securities thing that you're doing here? And you're basically saying you're going to issue these, and it's for things like improvements, accumulated sediment and aquatic weeds removal, things along Archer or Elm Lane, improvements to the layer, storm sewers, drainage and stormwater lift station improvements, sidewalk improvements and other improvements. All of these things, if you decided to do all of these things, it's quite conceivable, and you issued the bonds for it, it's quite conceivable that you won't be able to pay the money back. And then it would be a simple matter of just, well, we'll just raise, we need 2 mills to cover all these issues, and we're going to do it. So I guess I want to know what's going on here, and I guess that's my comment. I can't say too much about as far as I think our fire department and our all of the township government, for that matter, are very, very good, and I think you guys are doing halfway decent job, but I get a little bit nervous when I see, yeah, don't fall over. I get a little bit nervous when I see something that says you can levy things without my approval. So, of course, I'm only one, but I have a big mouth. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the floor for public comment and move back to board comment. I did my best to write down the questions. When was the last time we did this? This, maybe I didn't write it down, but this is, like, we have, for the majority of my time on this board, we have looked at 4-year millages, and we've looked at them in the middle of our terms. And the point being that I don't think that the politics associated with electing or re-electing any candidate should have anything to do with the process of voting on a millage rate to fund certain township services. So I don't want someone to be campaigning on a millage rate at the same time. Talk about millages, talk about candidates. So for that reason, we've been doing this probably 12 years, I'm going to guess, I don't know. In terms of the cushion, if you were talking about the cushion, I think we've done that at least the last 2 election cycles. Again, I'm going by memory. Yeah. Do other communities do this? Frankly, I'm not responsible for other communities, so a part of me wants to say I don't really know or care, because that's up to other communities, and it's up to the voters in those communities. However, I do recall that recently Clinton Township had a similar ballot proposal where there was this renewal, but it's really an increase discussion, and the voters did approve that. Headley Amendment was designed to protect taxpayers and to limit revenue and find better ways to fund government. You know, I happen to know that one member of the audience spent their career in General Motors, and as far as I know, the Headley Amendment isn't limiting the cost of my pickup truck. It seems to go up every year, and so do the wages that UAW and the various engineers for General Motors make. I don't understand how we can have this amendment that somehow protects voters. It doesn't protect anybody, because I can't possibly staff a fire department by asking firefighters to make the same amount every 4 years, no raises, no increase. Healthcare can't go up, which we know it does every year. So frankly, I think it's a ridiculous concept. I understand the idea, and it's designed to not allow government to take, in my opinion, to take power away from the voters. But by asking for a renewal that might be an increase, the voters, because of the Headley Amendment, have the opportunity to say yes or no, regardless of what the millage is. Frankly, I think the whole idea, I find it interesting that millages generate as much attention as they do, when the reality is you don't get to vote on your gas tax at a federal level, at a state level. You don't get to vote on your income tax level at a state or federal level, which are substantial taxes that we all pay. But at a local level, every millage that you pay was at the ballot. Doesn't mean you had to vote for it or against it, but a majority of the people in your community decided on what taxes they'll pay and how they pay for their local services. Inflation does generate additional revenue, but the reality is inflation causes our expenses to go up. Finally, there was a question about issuing a bond. And,
I could answer
oh,
that.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm good either way. Yeah. So the idea is that, simply stated, so we're going to do, for example, we agreed to be the fiduciary, if you will, for a circuit court decision between Elm Lane and Point Rosa. People on either side of the canal had a lawsuit. They went through the whole thing. We're looking at a $300,000 to $400,000 project to remedy that situation. we, the township, have the ability to do a special assessment district, and you just don't get out of that SAD payment. It goes on to your taxes. I mean, it's a unique situation we're in. In the case of that SAD, we're doing it because we can borrow money cheaper. And part of the reason we can borrow money cheaper is because the people who are loaning us the money, these people who would purchase potentially the bonds that we issue, acknowledge, and we acknowledge, that for whatever reason, we have the ability to pay back those bonds through taxation. We have a very, very unique position in the community. I'm not aware of any time we've ever had to create some taxation to pay back those bonds. In this case, we're going to put an assessment on every property owner based on the way the circuit court said it had to be done. We're going to be able to borrow that money cheaper than either Point Rosa or Elm Lane could do, and we are going to be able to collect that money because of the laws and the responsibilities given to township government. So, because of that, the likelihood of ever having to levy a millage is very slim. But the reality is that we're saying to those borrowers, we have this ability to levy a millage if we weren't able to meet our obligation because of some problem. So we're required to do that.
It's boilerplate language. I pulled up one from dredging we did in Venice Shores, and that was in there as far back as, 2005. So
Right,
that's a standard practice for getting that municipal rate on bonds.
Correct. So that legal posting that has to be in a newspaper, which, I mean, don't take it the wrong way, but, 2 or 3 folks, including yourself, read it, right? That's what the law says we have to do. But what we're saying is, hear ye, if we can't make the money from the folks in Point Rosa and Elm Lane, we know we have the right to tax the citizens of the township in order to make that up.
They may all default. I mean, they're not going to.
Yeah.
If they,
So-
every one of them defaulted on that, then we could tax everybody in the community.
And then lastly, I feel like the most generous compliment I've ever heard from the resident who spoke was that we are doing a halfway decent job.
This half. Just so you know, it's this half down here.
Yeah. Any other board comments?
I have a question. On the North River resurfacing, did we have to match funds?
It's a 10% match.
So did that come out of the firefighters millage or the police millage?
None, neither. It comes out of general fund, so let's.
That we don't fund.
Well, that's not, let's, to be fair, so there is constitutional revenue sharing in the state of Michigan. There was a time, prior to the 70s, when local municipalities were allowed to levy a sales tax. So you had a local sales tax and you'd have a state sales tax. State of Michigan said this is complex. I suspect frankly that at the same time other states were doing the same thing. And they said, we're gonna have one constant sales tax across the state of Michigan that was agreed to be 4%, and a portion of that is going to go to every municipality based on a certain criteria. And that's constitutional revenue. It's in the state constitution. So every municipality gets constitutional revenue sharing. Recently, most municipalities have received some form of statutory revenue sharing. In '05, that number was about $600,000 a year. By 2010, it was zero. Even though in 2010, 2011, our zero, with our similar population to, say, the city of Hamtramck, was they were getting 1.4 million from statutory. So it is subject to the legislators deciding that. There are a number of revenue streams that we get that our peers get. But we try to provide general fund services with those other revenue streams as opposed to using those revenue streams and levying a general fund millage. So it isn't to say that we don't have other revenue that we use, it's to say that we try to live and we try to provide the services that we need to for the general fund with those other funds those other revenue streams that everybody else gets. We don't ask for money on top of that. So the 10% for North River Road came from Yeah, some of that revenue is the fact that Mr. Tominello invests money, and it generates,
That's cable fees.
yeah, franchise fees, yep,
Right.
Yep.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, I believe approval of this resolution requires a roll call. Mr. Witt?
Yes, sir. Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Batkins?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Ms. Rubeau?
Yes.
Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkowski?
Yes. Thank you, Board. Next on the agenda, item I-1, regarding GASB reporting. The Governmental Accounting Standards Board, going by the name GASB, or the acronym, I'm sorry, issues statements that we have to comply with in order to satisfy auditing and reporting standards necessary for achieving the compliance we need for an unqualified audit opinion. Basically, there's these rules, gotta do these reports. And you know, GASB issues this, you know, standard number 6, 10, 15, 27, 30, so we're up into the 70s. GASB issued statements 67 and 68, as well as 74 and 75. And those statements that they came up with require reports from our actuary firm that report information regarding our employee, fire, pension systems, as well as our OPEB or other post-employment benefits, which is primarily retiree health care. Our actuary services provider has provided these reports, and attached are the invoices for these services. We recently went out and negotiated these fees and reduced our cost. I recommend the payment of the invoices to Gabriel Roeder Smith in the amount of $11,400 so that we are compliant with GASB 67, 68, and 74, 75.
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there support?
Support.
We've got a motion by Mr. Badkins, with support by Ms. Rabeau. Pretty standard stuff, we've done this for years. The information is there, shouldn't be any questions. Any board discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, board. Last on our agenda before adjournment is public comments. Item J, we'll open up the floor for public comments. You can discuss any item you wish. We ask that you try to limit your comments to 5 minutes in length.
I had wanted to bring this up before I forgot. We have a great equalization department and a fabulous director. They come to us every 6 months. We just recently, I think within the last month or so, she came before us again, and our equalization was up 1 full %. And she doesn't, I can't think of her name right now. I know her name well, and I just can't think of it right now. But she doesn't give an opinion, but she said it 3 times. This is unusual for us to have a whole % in this last 6 months or a year. And she said the highest wealth in the county. I'll give you a question or a test on this and see if you can answer it, but I'll just tell you what she said, is Bruce Township. Everybody's moving up there, I guess, or something. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention that because it was interesting. And also, someone had called me today about tree trunks in the back of their property, kind of a wetland they have. And my day was busy throughout the day, so I came there later in the day and looking around the property and found the area that she was talking about. And her husband said, you know, those really shouldn't be there. They've been cut down. Well, they've been cut down previously, I realized, because I could see the difference in the wood. And there was some other wood cutting there. But before I left my house, there was a Capens. Is it Capon trucks? Is that how you say the name? Capons. There was a Capon truck at the end of my road, which was right by the township offices, of course. And I saw this young man, as I was driving down there, I saw these 2 young men going back and forth, and I saw an older man, and I thought he might be the boss. So I was kind of huffing it down there to him, He said, you don't have to rush. And I thought, well, good. But anyway, I got up to him and I explained just briefly. And I said, have you been over there at all today? And do you know this area? And he said, no, I haven't been over there in that area. But he said, I'll come and take care of it. And I said, I haven't been there yet. I'm going to go there right now and see that. And I said, how long will you be here? He said, I'll be here another hour. I said, okay, I can go do that. So I got over there, and there was another cabin truck? Two, they each had 2 trucks. The man was so nice. And then tooled over, found the situation. I said, oh, this has got to go. So I drove around the corner. There was a man in that truck. I said, are you the boss? And he said, what do you need me to do? You need me to shoot somebody? Just kidding. And so I told him the scenario. And he got out of the truck. And I said, it's really not a far walk. So we walked around. He said, you can drive. And I said, I can walk. I can walk now, Ken. So we walked over. It really wasn't far. It was at the end of their property and right next to another property. So he's looking around and he said, we didn't cut this. We didn't cut over in this area. He said, but I'll take care of it. He said, no problem. I'll take care of it tonight. We'll take care of it before we leave. And there was some other brush that was cut unusual. They didn't cut that. He said, I'll take care of this. Don't worry about it. Both gentlemen were so nice. I'm not saying everybody else isn't nice also. I'm just saying I hit 2 gentlemen and they were both so nice. And I called the company and told them how nice they both were. They said, well, tell me where the other one was so that I could find out because I didn't know his name. But it was just great. You know, there are so many wonderful people. Really, there are. And they took care of the business, and I called the woman back and let her know it was taken care of because she wasn't home, and took a little walkabout.
Yeah.
It wasn't wet, so that was good.
Yeah, excellent, thank you, thank you. Any other public comment?
C. William Bardell, 29-year resident, clean cut, do-gooder, boy next door, clean up, fix up, people helping people. I just want to remind everyone, check out Save Lake St. Clair on Facebook. There's a little bit of reading material for you. And check it out. Stay up to date on everything. And everyone have a wonderful evening. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the floor for public comment. Any board comment? Hearing none, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, is there support? All right, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries, meeting adjourned. Thank you, board.
That's great.